Grizzlies fans know it's the team that gives you the edge. Big River Steel does too. And much like the Grizzlies have recruited legendary talent, we want you to be part of our team. Are you ready to be part of something legendary? Then visit www.bigriversteel.com. That's www.bigriversteel.com.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering, to those with a history of raising their performance to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy.
Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Justin Timberlake.
I'm bringing sexy back.
The Forget Tomorrow World Tour. Live in Memphis. Justin Timberlake. FedEx Forum, Saturday, November 23rd. Get tickets now at livenation.com. The brand new single Selfish is available to stream and download now.
So if I get jealous, I can't help it.
For more, hit up justintimberlake.com.
Scottie Pippen Jr. so clearly should have been the MVP. Led the Memphis Grizzlies to a 5-0 record going into the championship game. Led the Memphis Grizzlies to the championship game. Was first team all summer league. What was Jalen Wilson? Second team. What are we doing here? Snubbed. Capital S-N-U-B. Snubbed.
Tune in to the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt live every weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app. Live from the Built Ford Tough studio at FedEx Forum, it's the Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South, on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app. Now, here's your host, Gary Parrish.
All right, I'm here. My name is Gary Parrish. I'm speaking to you from the Built Ford Tough studio, FedEx Forum, downtown Memphis. Bennett Doyle's right there producing the program. Glad he's with me. Glad you're with me. Hope you're getting through the day best you can. And I hope you believe Steve Kerr when he told you Jason Tatum was going to play in the United States next game after not playing at all in the United States first game, because Steve Kerr was a man of his word. He played Jason Tatum and set down a recent MVP. Everybody can't play, Bennett.
That's right.
Everybody can't play. There's only so many minutes in a basketball game.
That's what
40,
they say.
40 to be exact. Everybody can't play.
Wait, is there 40 in this?
That's what they told me.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
I'm assuming.
Did you hear something different?
I don't know.
That's what I heard. They told me, they said everybody can't play. You can't expect everybody to play. So sometimes Jason Tatum's not going to play. Turns out sometimes Joel Embiid's not going to play. We'll talk basketball in a second. First, though, quickly, let me set today's schedule for you. In the next segment, about 20 minutes, going to be joined by my old buddy, Trent Rosecrans, who has been a staple in Cincinnati media for a long, long time. He now covers the Reds for The Athletic. And I want to talk to him because I told you on my way home from a vacation on Sunday, I knocked out the entire Pete Rose documentary that had just dropped last week on HBO Max. I think it's on the Max app right now if you want to watch it. It's 4 episodes, about 50, 55 minutes each. I thought it was terrific, and Trent was a big part of it. He made it better than it otherwise would have been. So I just found the whole thing fascinating. I wanted to talk to him. We'll talk to Trent Rosecrans. He's going to be here in the next segment. When I finish talking to him, we're going to take a break. Come back. We'll do 5 more things you need to know, at which point we're going to discuss 5 previously undiscussed stories. Among them, the Daily Memphian has named its greatest Memphis athlete of the 21st century. I'll give you the name. We'll do that in about 40 minutes. Seth Hennigan spoke yesterday after the University of Memphis's first football practice of the season. I'll tell you what he said. We'll do that in just a bit. Bennett saw Deadpool and Wolverine last night. You're always going to the movies.
Always.
You always get to the movies.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a life he's living. It's a vibe. Yep. Bennett saw Deadpool and Wolverine last night. He's got a review. I'm going to ask him about it. We're going to do that in the third segment. Clayton Kershaw. Oh, buddy. I don't know how bad anybody's night was last night, but it probably was better than Clayton Kershaw's. He made history, and not in a good way. I'll tell you what happened. We'll do that a little later on in the show. And Donald Trump, well, I guess Donald Trump might have had a worse day than Clayton Kershaw. He went to speak to the National Association of Black Journalists yesterday. You've probably seen some clips. It didn't go well. We'll cringe at what he said during a segment we call 5 More Things You Need to Know. Then we'll eventually do GP's carry out, and we'll call it a day. So that's the rundown. We got a lot to get to, but I did want to start with the 2024 Paris Olympics, because we are now, you're not going to believe this, we're now on day 9.
How about that?
And Bennett, I don't think
over halfway through.
I mean, I don't even know what you just said is true, but I will tell you this. I see other people like to count stuff too, and I see them on social media, and they're like, we're on day 6 or day 5 or whatever. I don't think they count right. I don't think everybody counts right. I start from, when did we first have Olympic competition?
Right.
You realize, like, I was at the Olympics.
I know.
You just like you've been to Peru.
Yep.
I've been to the Olympics.
Yep.
I was at the Olympics, and I was at the Olympics before the opening ceremony. They had not even opened the ceremonies. The ceremonies were still closed. We were still dealing with closed ceremonies at the time.
That's right, yep.
And I went to and the Olympics actually started a day before that. So we are on day 9 of the Paris Olympics. Don't believe when people say day 6 or day 7. It's day 9. Time flies. On day 8, that was yesterday, the United States men's national team in the sport of basketball, they're led by our king of America, LeBron James.
Yes.
Improved to 2-0. They're now 2-0 in France. Final score yesterday, United States 103, South Sudan 86. We don't even have to deal with host Sudan. It's just bottom part of it.
I told you it wasn't going to be a 30-point blowout.
You did say that.
Yeah.
And I was getting there. You did say that. Your record's now back to 500. You're still negative a lot of units.
Yeah.
But your record is back to 500. And it's because you took the bottom part of Sudan plus, I think it was like 23.5 or 28.5.
It was 28.5.
28.5 is a big number. Bennett said that's too big of a number, in part because you thought as Americans we would be more respectful. We'd be respectful of the bottom part of Sudan.
Well, this is an NBA game. This
is not an NBA game.
This is the Olympics.
That's an important thing to point out. Not an NBA game.
There's a level of pageantry involved in the Olympics. There's a level of sportsmanship involved in the Olympics. You don't just go out and blast teams by 30 points.
I mean, sometimes you do.
This the new era. Okay?
It's a new era.
Yeah, it's a new era.
Well, whether you're right or wrong, broadly speaking, I can tell you one thing: you were right yesterday, and that's all that matters. You were right yesterday.
Yes.
You had South Sudan, just the bottom part of Sudan. Mm-hmm. You know, it ain't always been like that. You back up 15 years, we'd have been having to deal with the whole Sudan.
It's the youngest country in the world.
Wouldn't that be nice?
No, it is.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that, but it makes sense because I know, like, they just became this, I think, in 2011. Mm-hmm. I was doing some research.
Yep.
I want to know how they went from whole Sudan to just bottom part of Sudan. It happened in 2011. A lot of things happened in 2011.
Like what?
I don't know. That's really the biggest, I think.
I guess so,
we chopped off the rest of Sudan. We just made the bottom part of Sudan its own little country. That's South Sudan. We played them yesterday. We beat them, but they covered just like Bennett told you that they would. Jason Tatum did play. That was the big mystery.
He did.
Going into the second game of these Paris Olympics with Jason Tatum, just a few weeks away from winning a title in Boston, becoming the face of a championship team, and then he gets a DNP coach's decision in Game 1 at the Paris Olympics. It was a humbling experience. Mm-hmm. He took it with grace. He was mature about it, but he also said it stings a little bit. So would he play? Steve Kerr told us he would, and he did. He got 4 points. Mm-hmm. He got 4 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He played 17 minutes. This time, the future Hall of Famer who got a DNP coach's decision, it was the 2023 NBA MVP, Joel Embiid. You want to argue on Joel Embiid's behalf? You think he was wrong by Steve Kerr? Same way everybody said Jason Tatum was?
Well, I've been standing on. I don't think Joel Embiid should even be there.
You don't find him to be American.
No. That's not it. That's not it. No.
This train's never late. This train's never late.
No, that's not the reason. That's not the reason why.
Where was his mama born?
That's
where was his daddy born?
I just think
I saw an old white man doing this exact same thing yesterday.
This is not why. I can understand why you might think that, but that's not the reason why. The reason being is because he was banged up in the playoffs. The dude was banged up towards the end of the NBA
Just say
season.
it. You want to see his birth certificate. Just say it. You want to see his birth certificate.
First off, he was not good in the first game that he played in at all. He was terrible. And he wasn't even good in the exhibition games and stuff that they did. It should have been Jaren. I don't give a damn. It should have been Jaren.
Bennett, you want to see his birth certificate?
No, I don't care. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. You got a lot of athletes with different nationalities competing for different countries. Like it's no big deal. That is not the reason. Please.
You need to see his birth certificate.
No, I don't want to see it. I don't care.
I've heard it all before. This ain't nothing new to me here in the United States of America. So Steve Curry used 11 players. Got a 17-point blowout. 10 dudes played at least 17 minutes. Tyrese Halliburton was the 11th guy. He only got 8 minutes off the bench. But again, the only person who didn't play, it was Joel Embiid. And the explanation that Steve Kerr gave is just he's not going to play all 12 guys in a 40-minute game. Somebody's always going to be tied to the bench. And in game one, it was Jason Tatum. And in game two, it's Joel Embiid. Largely, again, according to Steve Kerr, he determined that they needed to emphasize quickness and speed against South Sudan, and nobody on the roster lacks quickness and speed as much as Joel Embiid lacks quickness and speed. He just doesn't move like that. He's amazing, but he doesn't move like that. So it makes sense. Are we outraged? We were outraged when Jason Tatum didn't play. Are we outraged when Joel Embiid played?
Not at all.
Not at all.
I think Anthony Davis should be playing above him going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
And Kerr already said, now listen, in the next game, I think it's Saturday, Embiid will play. Somebody else is going to go back to the bench. We'll see who that is. It'll be a mystery up until around tip-off, I imagine. But this is just the way he's going to do it. And I think as long as you do it with different guys every game, it makes it much easier for the guys who are dealing with. Like if it was Jason Tatum every game, that would be a problem. Or if it was Tyrese Halliburton every game, that would be a problem. Or Embiid every game. You don't care about Halliburton? No, he doesn't.
Why? He doesn't need to be playing.
I know, but like if it was just, if you're the one dude not playing, if you're the one, you ever been on a team? Do you know what it's like to be on a team?
You're the one person, yeah.
When
that's
you're
not
the
getting
one
minutes.
guy, yeah. But it's like if it's just if it would have been Jason Tatum 2 games in a row, he'd have just. That'd get to you, I think. But when you can go, I didn't play one game, and then Joel didn't play one game, it's no big deal. Like if you can sort of, there's comfort in numbers. You can appreciate that. There's comfort in numbers.
I can.
So the United States is now 2-0. Sometimes Jason Tatum plays. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes Joel Embiid plays. Sometimes he doesn't. We'll see what they do going forward. Puerto Rico, I believe, is up next. Elsewhere in basketball news, happened after we got off the air, but during the Chris Vernon show, I believe. Luke Kennard, he's re-signed with the Memphis Grizzlies. 1 year, $11 million. Big Bennett, do you approve?
Oh, yeah, of course.
You like having Luke Kennard back?
I love having one of the best three-point shooters in the league on my team.
He's led the league in three-point field goal percentage 2 times. 2 times in his career. 44% three-point shooter. I like that he seemingly wanted to be here.
For sure. You've seen, he's around town. I talked about how he's going to be in that golf tournament coming up. Like, he's at Memphis basketball games. Yeah. Like, he's a part of the Memphis community, for sure.
It feels that way, right?
Yep.
Like, not every, and I don't hold anybody to any standard, but not every professional athlete who is employed by the Grizzlies, spends their years here, right? They're here when they're playing basketball, and sometimes, they go somewhere else in the off seasons, back home or wherever it is they might decide to spend their off seasons. But Luke has, you hear stories all the time, I saw Luke Kennard here, I saw Luke Kennard there, or you just see him here or there. And by all accounts, he seems to be somebody who falls under the category of they don't just play here, they chose to play here, they want to be here, they enjoy their time here, and that's always appreciative, given that sometimes we don't hear the best things about our city.
Absolutely.
Right.
I couldn't agree more.
So the team is now basically the team. We kind of know what we're going to have on opening night at this point.
Seems like it, yep.
Barring some unexpected and unfortunate injury, we know what we're going to be looking like heading into the 2024-25 season. I've seen other people make note that the Grizzlies made more changes with the coaching staff than they made with the roster. A, that's just easier to do. Because of the way contracts work. But B, I also think it's not illogical to assume that the same more or less roster you had last season or at least a comparable roster to the one you had last season, a roster headlined by the same three people, John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Desmond Bane, if you felt good about it heading into the 2023-24 season, I don't know why you wouldn't feel good about it heading into the next season, particularly when heading into this season, you have something in Gigi Jackson you didn't know existed last year. You have something in Vince Williams you didn't know existed last year.
Mm-hmm.
And though I think you can argue whether you'd rather have Steven Adams healthy going into last season or Zach Edey heading into this season, I think it is an argument. It's at least a legitimate debate.
Yes.
Relative to, what we saw in Summer League very briefly from Zach Edey. You feel good about things? You feel good about the roster?
I do feel good about things. I mean, again, it's all barring health, right? But yeah, I mean, I felt good about the roster coming into last season. So we're going to have a lot of the same, plus some guys that we expect to step into larger roles, based on how last season played out.
Like the top three is still the same, and the bottom of the rotation seems to be stronger.
I think they're deeper.
Do you feel like you right now in this moment, you feel better about Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams coming off the bench than you felt about
Zaire
this time last year and David Roddy coming off the bench?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the top is still the same with Ja, Jaren, Dez, and then the bottom of the rotation seems to have a higher ceiling or a higher floor than it had this time last year.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, my only big concern would be what happens if one of the bigs gets hurt, because your depth there might be lacking a little bit. Again, we'll see.
Then it's Jay Huff time. No big deal.
That's apparently so.
It's Jay Huff time.
So hopefully he's ready. But yeah, man. I mean, it's just with this team, it's again. I think if they're fully healthy and not dealing with what they did last year injury wise, I think they're going to be a top 6 team in the West.
They should be. And I think that's sort of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Not many people
they
talk
won't be picked
about
that
them
at all. Yeah.
How about this? I don't know where they'll be picked in the preseason when all the
not
writers.
Top 6.
But maybe not. But not given. So take last season and just throw it away because we should. It was a mess, injury-wise, suspension-wise, the whole deal. But in the previous 2 seasons, they finished second in the West. They will not be picked top 2 in the West.
No.
And I'm not even sure that they should be. But I'm just saying they won't. They will not be picked there. They might not even be picked top 4. I don't know where they'll be picked. I would say this. If they're healthy, they'll exceed expectations.
Yes.
If they're healthy, they'll be better than people predict, because people, when it comes time to predict such things, are going to largely forget what this team with this same core was in the previous 2 seasons before last season got derailed for a variety of reasons. We come back. C. Trent Rosecrans is going to join me. He covers the Reds for The Athletic, and he was prominently featured in a 4-part documentary that I watched on my flight home from vacation. It's called Charlie Hustle and the Matter of Pete Rose. It's about Pete Rose, the all-time great baseball player, former MVP, 3-time World Series champion, who, of course, has been banned from the sport for more than 30 years now. After a gambling scandal that if you didn't live through it, you might not have a proper appreciation for how big of a deal this was. But, keep in mind, we were just talking about Jonte Porter, a total nobody in the NBA, getting banned for gambling. Imagine if instead of Jonte Porter, it was Kevin Durant.
Right.
If instead of it was Jonte Porter, it was Steph Curry. That's what we were dealing with baseball. C. Trent Rosecrans was terrific in the documentary. I'm going to talk to him next. Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South.
We have 2 pairs of shoes that literally are not released to the public right now, and we're going to give you a live look.
First look in hand of the Armor Year 3.
Look at that leather.
Leather is super nice on this here. I actually tried to cheat this into my top 10 so far, but Kelsey said I couldn't. These have yet to be seen. These are the Armor Year 4s. These are called Phantom. I'm sorry, these are called Phantom.
The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GBWR.
Grizzlies fans, after exciting hoops and a lucky night of gaming, where do you rest your head? Look no further than Southland Casino Hotel, proud sponsor of the Memphis Grizzlies. Our high-rise hotel is the epitome of luxury and comfort. Picture this, you've just finished an evening of gaming and dining, so you head on over to one of our 300 rooms to end the night. Choose from standard suite and presidential suite, plus we're pet-friendly and offer mobility scooters for rent. It's a seamless experience for everyone. And don't miss the Main Street Exchange, right in the heart of our casino lobby. Whether you're craving a snack or need a souvenir of your stay, we've got you covered. From polo shirts to shot glasses, take a piece of the Southland excitement home with you. So come stay and play at Southland Casino Hotel, where every moment is designed for your enjoyment. Book your hotel stay by calling 833-703-3350 or visit online at southlandcasinohotel.com/hotel.
Guests must be 21 years of age or older to check in at hotel. Must be 21 plus. Play responsibly. For help quitting, call 800-522-4700.
I saw the Drew Hill story. Y'all rode together in the car, and you put the seat back.
Yeah, I put the seat all the way back, and his knees were still crunched up. And he was like, "Nah, bro, so I drive a Kia, man."
A Kia?
What?
He's 7'4", yo.
Yeah, I don't know how he does.
He got the seats removed.
Somehow.
The Chris Vernon Show, live weekdays at noon on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Looking at the college football playoff and the odds to make the college football playoff, this is the top 13 teams. 7 of these 13 are out of the SEC.
I think that first year in the SEC is going to be different. Like I do. I just think it's going to be different.
The Odds Couple with Rob Fisher, Lang Whitaker, John Roser, and CJ Hurt, live Thursdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Welcome back, Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South. We're inside the Built Ford Tough studio, and I told you earlier in the week on my flight home from vacation, I was just looking for things to download to watch, it's 9 hours. And I went to the Max app, and there it was, a documentary, 4-part series, Charlie Hustle and the Matter of Pete Rose. And among the journalists prominently featured in it was Trent Rosecrans, my old buddy from Cincinnati, now covers the Reds for The Athletic, and he's nice enough to join me now from Cincinnati. Buddy, how you doing? It's good to see you.
Good, you too, man. It's been a while. I mean, it's been so long that you used to have hair.
I used to
not just have hair, but that was like a prominent thing. That was like the first thing you saw was the hair. So it's been a little bit.
Here's the honest to God truth about my decision to do this after the hair. I was watching a replay of a basketball game that I was sitting courtside at, and it was shooting from above, and I realized for the first time, nobody tells you this, I had a giant bald spot that I just didn't know existed. I went straight to my wife. I was like, why didn't you talk to me about this? She was like, I didn't know how to do it. And at that point, it was, okay, let's go short. And eventually it was bald, and now here I am.
Now I'm like trying to think, like, should I put a camera back here or not?
Right. You don't want to know. If you don't know, just trust me.
Ignorance is bliss.
You don't want to know. Ignorance is bliss. I was thinking after I saw you pop up on the screen on my flight home about, our old days. I was covering Memphis basketball. You would be at Fifth Third Arena covering Cincinnati basketball. And I have a recollection. Tell me if this is a real thing. After a game, we went back to your apartment and watched a boxing pay-per-view and ordered food. I just remember having a great night.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, it was one of those things. As Josh Katzowitz was there too, yes. I think, and it was just one of those things. We had a bunch of guys who were like, "Hey, what are we doing?" And like, you want to go do this and hang? And it was awesome. That's like one of the great things about this business, especially when you're on the road a lot. You know people, and it doesn't have to be a production. It can just be like hanging out and with good dudes and just having good times. I mean, it's rock, right?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember it fondly. So, like I said, I was watching the documentary, and again, it's called Charlie Hustle and the Matter of Pete Rose, and it details the rise of a baseball phenom and then obviously his scandal-ridden fall. I don't know if it'll win Golden Globes and Emmys and all of that stuff. I enjoyed it immensely. It felt like if it would have been another episode, I would have been like, I can't wait to watch it. I just thought it was terrific. Did you think that it was an accurate or fair portrayal of the story of Pete Rose?
Very much so. And the thing I thought that was interesting, instead of like taking a bat to Pete Rose and just beating him up or putting his head into a guillotine, it felt like the filmmakers just kind of held a rope up, a little noose up, and said, hey, here's a noose. And Pete said, oh, okay. And like time and time again, he stepped into that noose, and so that they didn't have to tell you his flaws. They showed you his flaws. And, writers, you and I, that's our first, it's the first thing they tell us, right? Show, not tell. And I really believe they showed versus telling those tragic flaws.
They kind of set it up where, he might not be a trustworthy narrator of his own story, and then they just show him, and I don't even know if he's lying as much as he just believes a certain version of events. And I found this fascinating, like in the opening minutes, the whole Charlie Hustle nickname, he remembers it one way, and like nobody else remembers it that way, which I thought was just sort of telling of his entire outlook on life.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That even as much as one of the most famous parts about him is still in dispute.
Right.
And he's a fascinating, tragic, sad figure. But I thought they also did a good job of telling you why people cared about it and why he is still talked about to this day, even though he hasn't played since 1980, we're going on 40 years. I don't want to do the math because I remember that day, September 11th, 1985, being in front of the TV watching. So yeah, it gave you, it kind of felt like, I had a friend who kind of texted me after watching the first one. It's like, oh man, this seems like a puff piece. And I was like, you kind of want to go on. And also it's different for people in Cincinnati than elsewhere. I had another friend saying like, oh, I didn't learn anything new. And I was like, yeah, you probably wouldn't. Most people inside the 275 loop don't learn anything new. But I think outside it's probably like, and the reaction I've gotten from people outside, I was in Tampa this weekend and, had someone stop and ask me about it. You reaching out, I think from the outside, it's been more interesting to see the reactions than inside in Cincinnati. And just like, that's anywhere. You're in a very provincial place with its own, stories and legacies that are huge inside that area of Memphis, but outside of Memphis don't resonate quite as much, or will just be kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I think that's where Pete Rose lies in this city.
Yeah, like I didn't live through the Big Red Machine, but I lived through and just like you, remember watching him break Ty Cobb's record, and I remember the gambling scandal. But I was just sort of in the, while watching the documentary, reminded of things. Like, honestly, if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, did Pete Rose ever go to prison? I would have said, I don't think so. I didn't remember him doing 5 months in federal prison. So just from that perspective, I was reminded of things I had forgotten. I was trying to explain to folks earlier in the week, even my wife, about how much Pete Rose resonated in Cincinnati. And the sort of example I used was, imagine if Penny Hardaway had grown up in Memphis, then went to the University of Memphis, then came to the NBA, and the Grizzlies would have actually been in Memphis. And then he led them to NBA championships. And then, he coached them later as well. Like, that is who Pete Rose was. And I think it was you that made the point. He is still the most popular person in Cincinnati. He's certainly, or probably will forever be. And you said that you can't go to a Reds game anywhere in America without seeing Rose and 14 on the back of somebody.
It was funny. The first game after that, I'm in Tampa after it debuted, and that showed. And like, I am walking down to the clubhouse, and I look over and I I took a picture and put it on my Instagram. Like, see, I told you it was some guy in a Pete Rose jersey at Tropicana Field. And you know, if you want to go for places where you're not expecting to see a lot of people, that's a good place to go. And so it was really kind of like, yeah, hey, I'm right, that it is. And I just don't know that there's been a game that I've ever been to that there hasn't been some guy in a 14 or some person in a 14 jersey. And it's just kind of weird. You know, I saw it in Mexico. I've seen it everywhere. And it's kind of a reminder of what he has meant to this city and this organization.
You mentioned that the filmmakers just sort of like put the noose there and said, if you want to put your neck in it, go ahead. And he just consistently does it. And that's the interesting thing about watching this, is that he has very smart people around him, including an attorney, and they're telling him step by step what to do, what not to do. It's actually remarkable. Heading into the celebration of the World Championship Phillies team, you actually see his attorney say, do not talk to any reporter. Don't answer any questions. Mm-hmm. And he can't stop himself, and he says something that is clearly regrettable. As you're watching it, somebody in the documentary said he's a little bit like your, I don't know whether he's a bad guy, but he's like your uncouth uncle. Like he doesn't understand what's appropriate, what is, and he can't get out of his own way. And just watching it, you feel a little sad for him, because really he just can't get out of his own way.
Right. And when you admit that she was 16 and that's your excuse, that's not, doesn't put him in good guy territory for me. But yeah, there is a lot where we're talking about impulse control, and a lot of times, you know, he has an addiction to gambling, obviously, and that is impulse control is that addiction. And we all have our struggles with things and struggling our own controlling those impulses, but you can see that he just has struggles with doing what he may know is right every step of the way. And every time he gets a step closer to getting what he ultimately wants, which is that validation from the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, he will always do something that, whatever that step was, he'll do something that's 3 to 4 steps back, not just 2.
He clearly has done some things that run counter to the way you're supposed to handle yourself as just a human. He's done some reprehensible things. That said, his baseball career is undeniable. And among the things that registered with me that he said, in a long list of things that he said that were not so great, is he said, it's been more than 30 years now. I messed up, but I didn't cheat to win a World Series. I didn't beat my wife. I didn't, he was doing a whole lot. I get that too, but he was holding up a lot of things. And he said, what do you want to do? Cut my balls off? Like, why would you, it would be a real shame. And I think most people agree with this. If you're going to put him in the Hall of Fame someday, it would be a shame if it happened after he was no longer with us.
I don't expect him to ever go in. Never.
Right.
Like, never. That's actually just like that, entertaining the thought of, what would it mean if they put him in after he died? No, I mean, Joe Jackson's not in, and I think it's very similar. And the one thing that Pete struggles with when he throws these equivalencies around, what do you want? You want to cut my balls off? It's been 30 years. You agreed. Pete Rose agreed to a lifetime ban. Agreed to it. Now, there may have been an understanding that it would be revisited, but he agreed to a lifetime ban. And so I don't know where 30 years gets in there, because lifetime is lifetime.
Do you have any issue, as someone who cares deeply about the sport of baseball, with a museum that doesn't include a Pete Rose or a Barry Bonds or a Roger Clemens? Is that an issue with you?
Well, they're included in the museum. You go to the museum, you see Pete Rose all over the place. You see Barry Bonds all over the place. You don't see them in the plaque room.
Right.
And there is a distinction there, yes. Now, this maybe, I don't know if it's a cop-out or if it's rationalization or whatever. I am part of the process for selecting certain players. As a 10-year member of the Baseball Writers Association of America, I have I don't know if earn's the right word, but I've earned that right to be one of the selectors every November when that ballot comes, and every December when I turn it in. I have kind of gone to my own, like anything you do, like voting or anything like that. And I don't know why I just had the flashbacks of your poll attacks. But anytime you do that, you kind of like set rules for yourself and you try to be consistent. And that's, I think, what you try to, like an umpire, any kind of arbiter, you try to be consistent. And that's what you hope for. You know, an arbiter is not going to be perfect. An umpire is not going to be perfect, but you want that zone to be consistent. And so I've been pretty consistent in my voting. And my voting has been, for the most part, I know what happened on the field. I have a record of what happened on the field. I cannot speculate beyond that. That means I have voted in the past for Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Manny Ramirez, Alex Rodriguez. I vote for what I see on the field. And that is kind of mentioned later in the series. I think it's in the last episode where they say, if he were on the ballot, and I note that he will never be on the writer's ballot, I would vote for him because I know what happened on the field. I mean, quite honestly, it comes down to me. He had 4,256 hits. That's one of the greatest ball players of all time. But I do think the Hall of Fame does, to their credit, tell the story of Pete Rose and all the hits and misses. They tell that in a kind of frank and honest way. It just as, you know, there are other parts of the museum that tell other less heralded parts of the story. You can't tell the story of Josh Gibson without telling the story of how the reprehensible actions by owners to keep black players out of Major League Baseball for so many years. You know, you want to talk about real tragedies by baseball, Major League Baseball. That's a real tragedy. Upholding a guy's lifetime ban that he agreed to, I don't put that in the same vein as not allowing Cool Papa Bell, Josh Gibson, Josh Judy, you know, all these guys, all these unbelievable players. There's not an equivalency for me. So I honestly, it doesn't hurt me that he doesn't have a plaque there. It doesn't seem terribly unfair. However, if I were given that ballot, as I'm given every November, to check his name or not check his name, I think I would check it.
Last thing on this topic, sort of the, last thing you're left with in the documentary is there's Pete Rose talking about he doesn't gamble anymore. Should we, I don't even know that it matters, but like, should we believe him? Do you believe him?
I don't know that I'd believe Pete Rose if he told me his name was Pete Rose.
Right.
I mean, like, do you believe him? Over the previous nearly 4 hours, does he prove himself worthy of being believed? No. And so that's kind of the bottom line is I hope for his sake and for the people around him and his family. And, you know, if anybody comes off sympathetic, it's Pete Rose Jr. Yeah. And, you know, by all accounts, again, I've heard lots of words about Pete Rose in my time in this city, which is about 20 years. I've never heard a bad word about Pete Rose Jr. He is a guy, you know, his and I could be wrong, but from everyone I've talked to, his biggest sin is loving his father, and God bless him for that, you know? So yeah, that's who I feel for, honestly. That's the only person I think comes off as sympathetic in the whole thing. And is, you know, you talk about a guy who was a decent ball player. He was not his father, but he is a good baseball man. He worked in the White Sox. He's worked in several organizations. He was a manager in the White Sox minor leagues organizations. And I know he had people who really liked him, and his career was stunted because of his name. And it's not something he ever would or could run from. But to me, the great tragedy is not Pete Rose, it's Pete Rose Jr.
Just a couple more things before I get you out of here. In our back and forth when I reached out to you after I landed the other day, I mentioned that, as you know, I'm a lifelong Mets fan. I've tried to raise my boys as Mets fans. It hasn't gone so well, but they at different times have loved Jacob deGrom or Noah Syndergaard or David Wright or Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, and I couldn't help but notice my 7-year-old. Within the past month or two, I saw his iPad laying around, picked it up, and his screensaver, like homepage, it's now Elly De La Cruz, a guy that you spend basically every day of your life with. And it's not unique to my 7-year-old. Most of the players on his team are now, they consider themselves Elly De La Cruz fans. And I think obviously that would be true in Cincinnati or the surrounding areas. The same way if you talk to a basketball player around here, they're going to love Ja Morant. But this thing has made it to North Mississippi. Tell me about the phenom you're watching grow up right before your eyes.
It's kind of interesting. I remember the first time I heard his name, and what's funny is it was about 3 years after probably roughly exactly 3 years after the time I first saw him, but I didn't realize what I saw. And I actually sent you that picture from 2018, but in 2021, I just remember getting a call from an agent and said, "Hey, you heard of this Elly De La Cruz kid the Reds have?" And I was like, "No, man, never heard of minor league." It's like he just got promoted from the complex league to low A in Daytona. And it was like, in the words of somebody in the organization told me, "We found our Tatis." And I was like, whoa. And at the time thought like, okay, well, that could be some exaggeration. It's not. And it hasn't been. I mean, this guy is. And then so I think it was 2000. Yeah, there you go. There's the picture. I went to the Dominican Republic to do a story just kind of about the academy and what goes on there. And I'm taking a picture of Barry Larkin talking to some young shortstops, some 16-year-old guys who'd just been signed. Well, there's Elly in the corner, and I actually used a very similar photo in the story, but I didn't know at the time. Nobody knew at the time. He was the last guy they signed in that signing class. They had some leftover money. They went to watch somebody else, and the coach, Buscone, whatever, of the team in the Dominican said, "Hey, I know you're looking at this guy, but here's this other kid. He works so hard, and he's such a smart, good, fundamental player. I really think there's something there. You should, I like him better than the other guy." And then over the pandemic, he shoots up, right there in that picture. He's 6 foot 135, a 16-year-old kid. Again, I mean, we've all changed since we were 16. Yes. Some of us just out as opposed to up. And, but like, there's this kid he got it based on how hard he played and how smart he played. And then what's interesting is everything else came. And where he is, as he matured, he used that to plus the ability to run faster than anybody, throw faster than anybody, and hit it faster than anybody. All relatively good things. So yeah, and it just kind of grew. And so in 2021, I get this call like, "Hey, this guy, we found our Tatis." To 2022, I go to, where did I go? I went to Chattanooga. Or I went to Huntsville to see Chattanooga, and in AA, and he is there. And, I'm like, oh my God. I went for 6 games. I try to go for more than just a little bit. I go for 6 games, and I see this kid, and I'm like, oh my God, am I overselling him? Because each one of those 6 games, he did something that I was just dumbfounded. Including like this home run that everybody there is like, we've never seen the ball hit there. But then also being fast and then showing some improvement at the plate, like what he was able to lay off. And then I'm like, am I overselling this guy? And now, year and plus into his major league career, I'm like, was I underselling him this whole time? And I was saying this guy has a chance to be a generational talent. And I think I was underselling him, and that's exciting. And kind of to your point, this past weekend in Tampa Bay, the 3-game series was the highest attended series for a 3-game series for the Rays this year
wow.
at home, more than the Yankees series, which was also a weekend series. And you see, like I talked about jerseys and just looking out there, you see a 14 or 2 every game. You see a lot more 44s, and I'm not talking Eric Davis, who was, again, deserving of if I probably had a Reds jersey as a kid, it would have been 44 for Eric Davis. But you see a lot more 44s, and even you see 19, which was the last one, the Joey Votto. You see 44 everywhere you go in Cincinnati, and not just at the ballpark.
Wrap it up here with Trent Rosecrans from The Athletic. Last thing before I let you go, as I was watching the Pete Rose documentary and I was seeing you pop up, I'm reminded that the thing that actually, brought our worlds together was college basketball. I'm covering John Calipari, you're covering Bob Huggins, and it's another famed sports figure in Cincinnati whose career unfolded in a way that isn't pleasant for anybody. And then I just started thinking Tom Brenneman's another example. I don't know that you can connect any dots, but all these things just sort of were swirling around my head. And I guess what I'm asking you is, do you have a sense for how Hugs is doing, and how much do you hate the way that story ended?
It is sad, but you also think about how many other ways it could have ended, and thank God it didn't.
Right.
You're talking about a man who's had multiple incidents with drinking and driving, and the fact that nobody we know has been killed and Hugs wasn't. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I don't know if that's kind of what you're looking for, but yeah, it is sad. But these are men who have made those decisions, and the consequences of your actions. And I think both were given many second chances, and couldn't get out of their own way. And that is sad. And I haven't spoken to Hugs or seen Hugs in a little bit. It's been a couple of years. When he was at West Virginia, we had a couple interactions, and they were positive. But I hope he's doing well. And yeah, so that is an interesting comparison that I hadn't really thought of. But when you put it there, it's like I definitely see why where there's that connection. And I think it's one of those things where it comes from the outside, right? Like if I'm thinking about Memphis, I'm probably thinking about some big moments and some sad kind of things, and just what it points out, as opposed to all the great things about Memphis, which is such a fantastic town. You don't always want to hear about the bad things, and they are part of it, and they are part of the story of that area. But there's so many other stories. And so, it is. I see the correlation now that you put it there. I don't know if there's causation, but yeah, it is an interesting parallel for sure. Because there are tons of people around this city who are very loyal to both Bob Huggins and Pete Rose.
Right.
And so, but they're flawed men, but I think we are all flawed men in our own ways. And we just have to work to get better. And hopefully both those men are.
That is Trent Rosecrans from The Athletic. He's on X/Twitter @CTrent. The documentary, Charlie Hustle and the Matter of Pete Rose. I thought it was terrific. You were terrific in it. I loved it when I saw your face pop up. I appreciate you spending some time with me this morning. It's good to talk to you, brother.
Anytime, my friend. It was good to see you. Really good to see you, man.
That's Trent Rosecrans from The Athletic. Take care, buddy. I'll see you next time. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to college football. University of Memphis had its first practice of the season yesterday. Seth Hennigan talked after it and had some interesting comments. I'll read them to you next. Gary Parrish Show. We're presented by Ortho South.
SWAC Media Day was fun. Did anything stand out to you before we get into the meat of it?
It's a family atmosphere, and it's because we all have something invested in HBCU sports and football. Like, it's a community more so than it is these are the athletes, these are the coaches, and they're separate from the media.
Get all of your HBCU sports and culture news by tuning in to HBCU Huddle with CJ Hurt and Mike Wallace. New episodes drop every Thursday on grindcitymedia.com, YouTube, and Spotify.
We have two pairs of shoes that literally are not released to the public right now, and we're going to give you a live look.
First look in hand of the Armor Year 3.
Look at that leather.
Leather is super nice on this here. I actually tried to cheat this into my top 10 so far, but Kelsey said I couldn't. These have yet to be seen. These are the Armor Year 4s. These are called Phantom. I'm sorry, these are called Phantom.
The Sneak Fest Show, live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
I saw the Drew Hill story. Y'all rode together in the car, and you put the seat back.
Yeah, I put the seat all the way back, and his knees were still crunched up. And he was like, "Nah, bro, so I drive a Kia, man."
A Kia?
What?
He's 7'4", yo.
Yeah, I don't know how he does.
He got the seats removed.
Somehow.
The Chris Vernon Show, live weekdays at noon on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Hey Grizzlies fans, turn your stadium excitement into betting action at Southland Casino Hotel. As a proud sponsor of the Memphis Grizzlies, Southland brings you more gaming action than ever before. Step onto our massive casino floor stretching more than 2.5 football fields. Slot enthusiasts can enjoy more than 2,300 machines from penny slots to high limits and play the hottest games like Aristocrat, Dollar Storm, Cloverlink, and Lightning Cash. Table game aficionados can feel the thrill of the felt with 50 live table games. From 3-card to blackjack match, we're ready to deal you in. Plus, don't miss stadium gaming for an interactive digital experience. And for high rollers, our high limit room is calling your name. Go big on 6 high limit blackjack tables or spin one of our 54 high stakes slot machines. Throw in 8 delicious dining options and a 300-room high-rise hotel, and there's plenty to keep you going. At Southland Casino Hotel, the gaming excitement never stops.
Must be 21 plus. Play responsibly. For help quitting, call 800-522-4700.
Maxwell in concert. The Serenade Tour. October 16th at FedEx Forum. Maxwell. With special guest Jasmine Sullivan. And October London. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Don't miss Maxwell Live.
Orthopedic injuries can be unpredictable, unforeseen, and unscheduled, and Ortho South understands this better than anyone. Since your injuries don't make appointments, you don't need to either. That's because Ortho South welcomes walk-ins during the weekdays and the evenings and even on Saturdays. So next time an unforeseen injury makes an unscheduled appearance in your life, visit orthosouth.org to find your nearest urgent care location. Just walk in, and Ortho South will take care of everything, especially you. Learn more at orthosouth.org. That's OrthoSouth at orthosouth.org. Now I got 5 more things you need to know.
Number 1.
Big Bet Bennett, the Daily Memphian, has concluded its list of the top 25 greatest athletes in Memphis of the 21st century. Have you been following the list?
Yes, a little bit.
You haven't been following the list.
I haven't been following the list.
It's okay.
I know.
You're not
I know
you're
what the
not
top.
obligated to follow the list.
I know what the top 5 are.
You're not obligated. You don't have to follow the list.
I apologize.
Bennett, there's a lot of lists out there. You don't have to follow all of them.
Yeah.
You don't have to apologize. It wasn't.
I made my own list in my head.
You had your own list. Who would you put number 1 on your own list?
The greatest Memphis athlete of the 21st century.
That's right. Besides Zach Edey, of course.
I'm pretty biased to Zebo.
You would go Zebo.
I'm pretty biased to Zebo.
I mean, I got to stuff Zebo right there. I'm biased to Zebo myself.
Yeah, I'm pretty biased to Zebo, but I want to hear the list before I make my decision.
Well, there's a whole bunch. It starts at 25, and I'm not going to run you all the way down through it because it's not in front of me, so I don't want to do that. But number 5 on the list was Derrick Rose.
Mm-hmm.
D Rose
makes sense.
Does it though?
I mean, okay. Well, I could maybe make the argument that CDR should be
CDR was the first team All-American.
He was the All-American on that team. That's right.
And CDR spent 3 years on that campus as opposed to 1 year from Derrick Rose. I love Derrick Rose. Don't get it twisted. D. Rose and I go way back.
Right.
Way back.
Yeah, I don't
I love Derrick Rose, but is he really top 5? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
his peak was higher than most, higher than all.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would
argue. It's the youngest MVP in history.
Right. Yeah, that's the one that I think might be. Maybe you can make an argument, but I got no problem.
I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight about it. Like I'm not going to fight about it. I love Derrick Rose. I'm not going to fight about it.
Yeah.
Number 4, that's Zebo, Zach Randolph.
Yeah,
that's what you would have. Do you think that's too low?
Who I think 4 is a little low.
Okay, well then let's see who you would move him ahead. Because number 3 is D'Angelo Williams. And I think he's a fellow Grind City Media colleague, so be careful.
That's right.
Be careful.
That's correct.
Be careful.
I love D'Angelo Williams.
Yeah, we're about to see how much.
I mean, we did the D'Angelo for Heisman campaign.
That's right.
He kind of put that foot. Frankly, he's one of the reasons that. I mean, we might owe D'Angelo a debt of gratitude for us even having a football program.
We might not even have football.
I'm just being honest. Yeah. Like, he was the one that got us into bowl games. And dude, remember how excited we were about those bowl games? Like, that doesn't even really matter in college.
No,
that's how bad it was.
It's so bad that we used to get excited that we might be able to go to a bowl game for the first time in my life.
And he's like the reason because of that. Yeah.
So, and we had a little toy race car, a little D'Angelo race car. Yeah. Everybody's got one of those. Everybody loves D'Angelo Williams.
Everybody loves D'Angelo. Yeah.
I got no problem. He's probably top 3. Save Memphis football.
I might put Zebo ahead.
Oh, that's disrespectful.
Okay. I'll explain my reasoning. Okay. Who's next?
Number 2 is Mark Gasol.
I would put Zebo ahead.
Mark Gasol won a state championship at Lausanne and then went on to be the face in many ways of our NBA franchise.
Zach Randolph is the reason people started caring about the Grizzlies.
Okay.
Zach Randolph is the reason that the city fell in love with the Grizzlies.
I would argue the reason people started caring about the Grizzlies is because they moved to Memphis.
Well, I mean, I was there. I've been here since the beginning.
Bennett was here
I've
at the start.
I've been following since the beginning.
Not all of you have been here from the jump, but Bennett was here from the jump.
I was at those playoff series when we didn't win a game.
Couldn't beat anybody.
The level of passion.
12.
There was passion, but the level of passion was not the same at all. Like the city became infatuated with the Grizzlies during the Zebo era.
Rank the core 4.
Zebo, Mark, Mike T.A.
Oh, wow. Woo. Woo. Glad you said that on a Thursday instead of a Tuesday. Wouldn't want you to have to bump into TA out there.
Well,
in the hallway.
I think TA and Mike is arguable. You can argue.
Mike Conley's all-time leading scorer in Grizzlies history.
That's the thing. I mean, the number, his numbers are better.
I guess points don't matter to you.
That's why I put him ahead. That's why I put him ahead. He's got the numbers. He's got the numbers.
But you didn't put him ahead of everybody. What did Mike Conley do to you?
He didn't do anything to me. I love the core 4 equally.
It doesn't sound like it.
I love the
That's
core
not
4
what I'm
equally.
Hearing. That's not what I'm hearing.
I love the core 4 equally.
People always say like, you love your children equally.
Yeah.
But as the father of 3, I'm telling you that's not true.
Yeah.
It's not true. Like, you can rank your kids. Rank your kids right now.
Bro, I'm not
Which
ranking
kid
my
do you
kids.
like better?
No, I'm not telling you.
Which kid do you like better?
I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
But
like, in all seriousness, you know.
I don't.
You know. We all know.
Dude, I was in the concourse when everyone was chanting Zebo. Like, after that, I think it was game 3 against the Spurs. Like, that was a moment.
Mike broke his face. That was a moment.
Yeah.
TA did first team all defense.
We got
that was a moment.
from the playoffs.
TA did first team all defense. That was a moment. Mike broke his face. That was a moment. Mark got David Fizdale fired. That was a moment.
Oh, that was a hilarious moment.
They all had their moments.
They all had their moments.
Number 1 on the list, according to the Daily Memphian, greatest Memphis athlete, 21st century.
I bet I know the answer.
Ja Morant.
Of course.
It's the right answer, I think.
It is the right answer because again, if it was my list, I might put Zebo number 1.
I know. It's been established.
I'm just saying.
It's been established.
But we've never had a star like Ja. I mean, this city has never had a star like Ja.
He gives you something to believe in a way that we've never had.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the truth. Like, you can believe in him in a way that we've never been able to believe. Like, you can love Zebo as much as you want to love Zebo.
Yeah.
You were never having conversations about, could this guy lead you to a championship? Could this guy be the face of the NBA? Could this guy? He was just our favorite player,
right? Like
nothing more.
When the Grizzlies went to the Western Conference Finals, I think anybody, if they're given truth serum, I don't think anyone would have said, "Oh man, they're going to win the championship." But with this, you can talk yourself into it depending on how it breaks, right? Yeah.
You never could sensibly say the core four were going to win a title. That would have never been a sensible thing to say.
You would have said if things break right.
I don't even think you could say if things break right.
I don't know, man.
I don't remember. I talked about this stuff every day for a long time, all the way through it. I don't ever remember having a serious conversation about whether the core four could win a title.
Fair enough.
I don't ever remember that.
I don't either.
Right. So... But you can have a sensible conversation about.
It was more of like a Cinderella run, right? When we went to the Western Conference Finals.
I mean, if you want to really get into it, I think Russell Westbrook was hurt.
Westbrook got hurt. Russell Westbrook got hurt.
We got to the Western Conference Finals as a franchise because we were fortunate from an injury perspective, and other teams weren't. Which is the way it goes every year.
That's the way it goes every year,
right? We were just on the right side of it that
right.
year, but that's the best explanation for it. You can reasonably have a conversation about this core, headlined by John Morant, winning a championship. And so he gives you something to believe in. He's been at the tip top of the sport already, or at least close to it. And he's the biggest thing we've had to believe in that's ever existed with the franchise. So I think he's appropriately number one. I could quibble with other aspects of the list, but not that part. I think they got the top right.
I think so, too.
John Morant,
I'm
number
not
one,
argue.
according to the Daily Memphian.
Number 2.
Seth Hennigan, he spoke yesterday after his first practice in his
Was
final
he on the
year.
list? This is top 50, right?
Top 25.
Well, no, but it was 50, wasn't it? When the whole list was 50, right?
I thought it was 25, Bennett, but I don't know.
I think it's 50 greatest Memphis athletes of the 21st century.
Okay, well, I thought it was 25, but it doesn't matter.
I think Seth Hennigan can crack the top 50.
Maybe. You're going to have to take it up with the Daily Memphian.
Okay.
All right. Just you still got.
Holler me after this season.
You still got Calkins' number?
I do have Calkins' number. I can text him.
Text him. You guys can have this conversation.
Okay, I will.
All fair. Seth Hennigan, I don't know where he's at on the list or if he's even on it or how long the list is. All right. But either way, I do know this. Yesterday, he had his first practice in his final year of college football at the University of Memphis. And listen to what he said. He's fired up. Are you fired up?
I'm super fired up, actually.
I think I'm starting to get fired up.
No, I'm really fired up.
He said, I've said it to some of my teammates and my close family members, like, this is it. It's make it or break it season for me and my career. I look at my future and my 5-year plan, and it all comes down to the next 3 months. If I make my dreams happen or if I play horrible, so it's in my own hands. I know the expectations, and I'm excited to live up to those expectations as well. Let's go.
Let's go.
I think I'm getting fired up.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's you got two. I was looking at the schedule. You got two kind of whatever game. It's North Alabama and then Troy at home, and then you're at Florida State. Like you right
Florida
into
State just yesterday picked to win the ACC.
Yeah.
So it'll be the AAC favorite against the ACC favorite.
I'm fired up for that.
Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
I mean, I don't mean to sound like Taylor, but are you ready for it?
I'm ready. I think Seth's gonna have a really good year. I'm excited about it. And he's right. Like he. If there is a pathway for him to become a professional quarterback, a lot of it hinges on what he does this year. Again, because the expectations being so high. Like you're picked to be the favorite. If you put up big numbers, win the A, you're going to have eyeballs all over you, right?
All of this just re-emphasizes how big that bowl game win was.
For sure.
It changes the way we're talking about it.
Absolutely. There wouldn't have been this excitement coming into this. No.
If they would have lost the bowl game, we'd be like, yeah, and Seth Hennigan said some stuff after practice yesterday. When's that guy ever going to win a big game?
Right.
When's that guy ever going to win a game he's not supposed to win? Oh, yeah, that was fun. But they went out and they beat a Big 12 game, Big 12 team in a game they weren't supposed to win.
Right.
And it just changes the perception of everything. So now we're sitting here fired up. I'm fired up.
I really am too, man. It's gonna be a good season.
I hope so.
I think it's gonna be a good season.
I hope so.
Now the 3 teams below them.
I don't look down. I don't even know. I don't look down.
You gotta look down.
I don't look down.
You gotta look down.
I ain't looking down.
The 3 teams below them in USF, UTSA, and Tulane. They play all those teams on the road this year.
Doesn't matter to me.
Just saying.
I'm just saying too. Doesn't matter to me. Ain't scared of nobody. I fear no man.
Those are big games.
I
though.
don't fear no man.
And you win them. You know, we could crack that top 25.
I'm fired up. I'm trying to get you fired up. You're worried about going on the road to Tulane. I ain't worried about no Tulane.
Dude, I mean, you say that.
I do say that.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about them.
They lost their coach.
I fear no man.
Okay.
Bennett, I'm sitting here before you. I fear no man, not no AAC man.
Okay.
I might fear a Big Ten man or an SEC man. I don't fear no AAC man.
In football, in basketball, I've sat here plenty of times saying, I ain't worried about the AAC. And it turns out I should have been worried about the freaking AAC. I'm not saying that anymore.
We ain't never worried about the AAC, and we never win it.
I know. That's the thing. It's like we sit here. I feel like we sit here every year at this point. You're like, the AAC sucks. Like, why am I worried about this? And every year, turns out we should have been a little bit worried about the AAC.
We are never worried about the AAC, and we never win the AAC. We should maybe worry a little bit more.
Yeah.
But not today. I ain't worried today. Not after Seth Hennigan said what he said. I'm not worried today. I'm fired up. I'm ready for Memphis football.
Number 3.
I've been and went to the movies last night. Do you have children? Do you have kids? Do you have a family?
I do.
Are you estranged from your family?
No.
How do you get all this free time? Just go to the movies every day by yourself.
I have a great wife.
Bennett's like, I'm gonna go push some buttons at work. Then I'm gonna come home and grab a turkey sandwich, and then I'm gonna go to the movies.
No.
Can you get the kids in bed on time?
No, I got the kids. No, there's balance. Okay. No, you go after the kids are down and going to bed.
I respect this about you
because
because once my kids are down, I'm trying to overdose.
You
go to the movies.
I mean, you can do that there too.
That's right. That's right.
I've got. So basically, we went out of town this past. We went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine.
All right.
Yep.
Who you go with by yourself?
I went by myself.
I like that.
Dude, I go to the movies by myself.
I like
all
that.
The time.
Sometimes people
like once a week.
Sometimes people judge you for that. I like it.
No, I love going to the movies by myself. It's a way.
Well, what is the point of going to movies with somebody else? You're supposed to just sit there and shut up.
That's right.
What are you even doing together?
It's a good
It's
way.
the weirdest date. Like your first date going to the movies is kind of weird because you're just like, hey, I'm going to come pick you up. Let's get to know each other, but let's not talk for the next 2:20.
It's like therapeutic for me because the thing is like I'm addicted to my phone and looking at it all the time. You know, my screen time, and that forces me to have to put it down for a few hours.
Do you actually put it down?
Yeah, I don't look at my phone during the movies. I'm not a psycho
Bennett's
or
not
a horrible
psycho.
person.
You're not gonna label him.
You're a horrible person if you do that.
I agree.
You're a horrible person if you do that.
Too. I do it
people that
sometimes.
look, it's okay if you have to glance at it every now and again, but dude, people that play on their phones in the movies are the worst kind of people in society.
What if you're trying to follow a Mets game or something?
No, if you want to know what somebody's all about, go to the movies with them and see how much they look at their phone. I tell you everything you need to know.
Everything you need to know about somebody.
Everything you need to know about that person.
Wow.
So yes, I did go to the movies last night. I went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine because I was having massive FOMO. Like I didn't see it this weekend.
Who's in this? Jennifer Garner?
Jennifer Garner. Well, hold on now. Did you look some stuff up?
No, I think I saw her and then.
I don't want to get. Okay, so there's a lot of cameos in this movie.
Jennifer Garner?
I don't want to give away any spoilers.
Spoiler alert, Jennifer Garner's in it.
There's a lot of cameos in this movie. I don't want to give away anything for anyone that wants to go see it.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It's one of those movies that you have to go see in theaters, I feel like, because it's just, again, like you have like the big cameos, like the ooh and ah moments. It's funny. I'm not the biggest fan of the Deadpool movies, but I think Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is by far the best comic book movie character of all time.
By far.
And I'm a huge Wolverine fan from the
Who
comics.
is that disrespectful to? Iron Man?
I think he's way better. That's just who he's been my GOAT forever.
Is this a widely accepted opinion, or are you out on a limb here?
I might be a little out on a limb, but I don't think I'm out of line. I think he is the best comic book movie character of all time. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
What about Batman?
No, I put him above, and I love Batman.
Even Michael Keaton?
I put him above Michael.
Man, I like Michael Keaton.
I'm Batman.
I put
him ahead. I put him ahead, man. And so I was stoked to see him. And it's awesome, like how they do it. And he has on all the different Wolverine costumes that people always wanted to see him in, which was cool. Specifically, like the yellow one that everyone likes, but I liked the brown one. And I think that based on our discussion yesterday, you actually threw something out there, and I was like, damn, GP, how you? Because we were talking about Robert Downey Jr., and we were talking about, well, how's he going to be Dr. Doom? He's Iron Man.
Yeah. It's a Tony Stark variant.
You were onto something.
I knew I was onto something.
You were definitely onto something.
Man, Bennett, do you think I know how to Google?
That's what's going to happen.
You don't think I know how to Google?
That's what's going to happen. It's going to be the same.
So what did Jennifer Garner do?
I don't want to say because it's a spoiler.
Yeah.
She's back.
Yeah. She make out with anybody?
No, she didn't make out with anybody. This is one of those movies where if you start talking about it and what happens in it, you're spoiling everything.
You know, it felt like when her and Ben Affleck went through that thing, you felt kind of bad for her, right? You felt like she was on the wrong side of something.
Yeah.
Turns out she might have been on the right side of something.
No, she was on the right side of something.
Feels like she was on the right side of something.
I will say she gets closure in this movie. She gets
on Ben Affleck?
In a way, yeah.
Oh, wow.
In a way, yeah.
Wow.
In a way, there's some closure there.
She put a pistol on Jennifer Lopez?
No. J-Lo's not in the movie. Ben Affleck's not in it. Well, not technically in the movie.
Ben Affleck, below average Batman, they say.
I like his Batman.
Oh.
I like Batfleck.
I don't think I ever saw it.
I think I
was busy.
I actually like his Batman. I'll give you a hot take. I liked Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. And I love the Justice League Snyder Cut. That's an amazing movie.
I guess.
Yeah.
Man, you might as well be speaking Chinese right now.
You're the one that let me do this.
You might as well be speaking Arabic to me right now. I don't know any idea what you're saying.
I loved the movie. I thought it was really good. If you want to go see it, I think it is one of those movies you need to go experience in the theaters. And it is the biggest R-rated opening weekend ever.
Who plays that other fellow there? So that's Hugh Jackman. Who's that other fellow?
That's Ryan Reynolds. He's Deadpool.
Yeah, people like him.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Blake Lively's husband.
Yes.
People like him.
Yep.
People like him.
He's good.
He seems like a good guy.
He's funny. It's a good character. I think the movie's all about Wolverine, though.
Yeah, of course it is.
This is for the Wolverine
You
crew.
ain't got to tell me.
Okay, so I wanted to hit you with to bring it a little bit back, bring it back down a little bit to get in your wheelhouse a little bit. So this is the highest opening weekend for an R-rated movie. It has now entered the top 10 highest grossing R-rated movies of all time, surpassing Hangover Part 2.
How did they do that? How did this get so big? I don't even care about it. How did it happen?
Deadpool and Wolverine?
Yeah, I don't care.
Well, the Wolverine number one.
Mm-hmm. Sydney Sweeney in this thing or no?
No, she's not in it. It's a sequel, right? Or it's the third movie in the Deadpool trilogy. People already like the Deadpool movie, so you put together these two big time characters, and it's a Marvel movie, so of course.
Why wouldn't you put Sydney Sweeney in it?
It's also Deadpool's first time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. These were Fox properties.
Okay.
That's another whole thing.
We know, Bennett.
And I have a special place in my heart for the Fox Marvel properties.
We assume
for the Fox Marvel properties.
We know your relationship with Fox,
and they pay homage to a lot of them. And
you don't get a beard like that without watching Fox.
Exactly right. That's right. Now it makes sense.
It
now
all makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Oh,
yeah.
Least surprising thing I heard all day is that you're a big fan of Fox.
Right now, it actually is starting to make a lot of sense.
That beard didn't come from nowhere.
All right, so I'm gonna hit you with a little trivia time.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit you with a little trivia time.
All right.
Can you name Deadpool and Wolverine? It is the 9th highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. Can you hit me with the top 10? I already told you Hangover Part 2 is number 10.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Eyes Wide Shut.
No.
How it had Tom Cruise in it.
No.
And I know it was R-rated because they were taking their clothes off a lot.
Right, but that's like advertising itself as like a sex movie. Like you're not going to be able to just do great at the box office doing that.
I think it did.
No, I mean it's a great movie, but like you can't market yourself as a sex movie and expect the masses to come out and spend all their money.
I spent all my money.
No, you got to think like this is okay. So there's going to be there's two comic book movies on the list.
Okay, if it's Hangover 2, then I'm going to say Hangover 1.
That's on the list.
Okay, sure.
Yep, that's on the list.
Right.
Okay. There's 2 comic book movies.
Yeah.
And then 3 movies that are just were they appealed to the masses. One of them was a recent movie that appealed greatly to the masses. I believe you saw it in theaters.
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer's on the list.
They blew up the whole world.
Yep.
What a wild deal.
Oppenheimer's on the list.
Yeah.
Can you name the 2 comic book movies? R-rated comic book movies. There's not that many of those.
R-rated comic book movies.
Yeah. This is one of them, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
So that would mean...
Deadpool and Deadpool? Deadpool 1?
Part 2.
Deadpool Part 2?
Deadpool Part 2.
I don't know these things even exist.
One's a horror movie.
Yeah. Oh, Scream.
No, that's a good guess.
That was a good guess.
Mm-hmm.
Horror movie. Oh, it's
There's
like
a clown in it.
yeah. What's his little name?
Pennywise?
Yeah, Pennywise.
Do you want me to give them to you?
Yes,
Are you gonna
please.
Guess? Okay, The Matrix Reloaded,
Of course.
Deadpool Part 2, I said Oppenheimer, Joker, and then the last two you
Joker,
have
that's my
no
buddy.
chance
That's my buddy
The
Joaquin.
last two you had no chance of getting.
You don't tell me what I had a chance at.
It is American Sniper,
Of
starring
course.
Bradley Cooper,
I
because
saw
you get
that.
like the patriotic.
Oh, yeah, people love that.
And then
I saw that.
And then number one, I don't know if it's number one all time, but The Passion of the Christ. That was a big cultural phenomenon.
Was it?
Everybody went and saw Passion, because remember all the church groups were going and seeing it. Too.
Was that Mel Gibson?
He directed it.
Ooh,
yeah, and
buddy.
then things. Yeah,
and took a wrong turn.
He shouldn't have never done that interview.
Saw him playing blackjack at the Wynn one night.
Did you?
Yeah, he had a button-down shirt on. He's sitting at the blackjack table. And it's like, you look over there and it's like there's Mel Gibson.
Yeah,
he had a button-down shirt on, no buttons.
Yeah, no
totally
buttons.
open. He didn't button any of them, not even one.
Man, Mel Gibson before that interview was I like that. I stand on. I still watch all his. I mean, I like Mel Gibson.
Man, I bet I watched the first Lethal Weapon 1,000 times.
1,000 times. Mad Max.
Opening scene. That girl just
Braveheart,
jumped.
The Patriot.
That girl just jumped right out of a building.
Yeah.
First 2 minutes of the movie.
His run in the 80s and 90s. I mean,
I don't
it's
know why-
hard to match.
I don't know why my parents didn't step in and make me stop watching that. I watched that young woman commit suicide like 40,000 times.
Yeah.
It's like the For You tab before you had the For
really
You
was,
tab.
wasn't it? It
Yeah.
really was, wasn't it?
Like, yeah,
Man, Mel Gibson had that mullet. Like, it
Yeah.
was, yeah, dude.
Yeah. Like he seemed like a nice enough guy up until, he drank a little bit and got pulled over. Then, he had some stuff to say.
Yeah.
He had to get some things off his chest.
Yep, he did have to get some things off his chest. Man, but he had a run.
He did have a run. Oh,
dude.
man, he had a run.
I even liked. He directed Apocalypto. That was a good one too. Remember that one? Yeah, that was a good movie. That was a good movie.
Yeah, I remember. You know what I remember? Maverick.
Oh yeah, the Western. Maverick was good. It was him, Rene Russo. Yeah,
I thought Maverick was good.
Maverick was really good. I like that movie a lot too. Ransom.
I thought Ransom was good.
Dude, Ransom
Give
was
me
good.
back my son.
Yeah, dude.
How do we remember that?
Ransom was awesome.
How do we remember Ransom?
That line.
Yeah.
Give me back my son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like Not Like Us before we had Not Like Us. We just screamed, give me back my son. Now we scream Not Like Us.
Right.
Yeah. Mel Gibson had a run, didn't he?
He did have a run.
Man, if he just was a little nicer.
I know, man.
Could have been different if he's just a little nicer.
I
So 2 thumbs up, you give the movie.
2 thumbs way up.
You
Go
loved
see
it.
it in the theaters. If you hate spoilers, you need to go see it.
Jennifer Garner's amazing in it.
She's great in it.
Yeah.
She's great in it.
Jennifer Garner's great in it. I like her.
Yeah, she's great in it.
I like her.
It's but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
I did. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, me
All right.
too.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Man, you know who
I
did-
know you really happy
No,
that you gave me one of the 5 things.
I like this. I like this because I'm now getting a dose of my own medicine. You know how many times you've had to sit there and act like you care about Dwight Gooden?
That's true.
So now I have to sit here and listen to you talk about Deadpool and Wolverine like I give a shit.
That's right.
All right, it's fair. It's what's fair.
Yeah.
It's what's right.
I promise tomorrow I will not do a Marvel thing.
We'll see.
I will not do a Marvel thing. I swear
so
to God.
far you're 2 for 2.
No, I swear to. Well, that's just because I went and saw it last night.
I know.
Yeah.
Whatever the reason, you landed in the same spot 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
I don't mind it though. You do your thing. It's yours.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
yours. I
Yeah.
give you ownership of it. You do whatever you want. You know who didn't have a good night last night?
Clayton Kershaw.
Clayton Kershaw.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy, I feel bad for him. So he's 36 years old.
Worse than the postseason Kershaw.
This is just, I think, a sign of the times.
Okay.
Postseason Kershaw and his lack of success was always, to me, just an anomaly. It
Okay.
just was something that happened, and it was true. Like the numbers are the numbers, but I didn't make anything out of it.
I got you.
It was just like limited sample size.
And he redeemed himself, right?
He did have a big thing in the Dodgers World Series. Yes, he threw well. He's. I don't think it erased it forever, but he didn't bomb.
Yeah.
When some people were saying, watch out, he might bomb, he didn't bomb. So I never thought postseason Kershaw was a real thing. I just thought it was an anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for whatever. Like, you know what else was a thing? Like, postseason Barry Bonds was not good up until it was.
That's true, yeah.
But, like, it wasn't for a while. And I just thought it was small. I didn't think Barry Bonds can't hit in October. Well, yeah, he just didn't in a small sample size. That's what I thought the Kershaw thing was. But what happened last night, I think, is more than that. I think it's a sign of the times.
Okay.
36 years old. And it was his 424th career regular season start. And for the first time ever, he didn't strike out a single person. Got rocked, took a loss, and it was just his second start back from arm surgery. Like, it might just be over for him. Like, when you get to a certain age and you're coming off injuries and suddenly you do something negatively that you've never done before, it's not a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Might be over for him.
I mean, dude, he's been pitching a long time at this
Long
point.
time.
Yeah.
36. It should make you be more amazed by LeBron, right?
Yes.
Different sport, but like LeBron might really end up being, they don't do this, but like the MVP of the Olympics at this age. He's older than Clayton Kershaw.
Yep.
Clayton Kershaw might be done. Because when you get to this age, in almost any sport, you either are done or close to it. LeBron's amazing. Clayton Kershaw has been. But last night, he got rocked pretty good. And given that it was just his second start coming back from surgery, and he's 36 years old now, keep an eye on the next start.
Yep.
Because this is the way it happens sometimes in baseball. It's like you come back, and it's like, all right, I'm still Clayton Kershaw. Then you get rocked a little bit, and it's like, okay, maybe I'm not. Then next start, okay, maybe I'm not. Next start, now you got an 8 ERA, and they're wondering why they got to pull you from the rotation because the Dodgers are trying to win a World Series.
Right.
Keep an eye on this, Bennett.
Okay, I will.
I know you're watching Marvel movies every day, but keep an eye on this.
I will.
Number 5.
Okay, you know who had an even worse day than Clayton Kershaw?
Who?
Former President Trump, it appears.
I saw the clips.
Oh, buddy. He went to speak to the National Association of Black Journalists, and I don't want to say it couldn't have gone worse, because I guess it could have, but it went poorly.
It was pretty uncomfortable to watch.
It was pretty uncomfortable to watch. And it was also interesting to watch because he really didn't say anything that he hasn't hinted at before or outright said about other people, specifically, say, Barack Obama, right? And it must be, I couldn't help but think that this is the way this happens. Because you or I, or honestly, even Republican strategists you see on television last night would watch what he did yesterday and said yesterday and be like, ooh, buddy, that is not good. You should not be saying, even if you think that, you should not be saying that out loud. All right? But it must be interesting because these are the types of things he says, and clearly the types of things he thinks, and he's just constantly delivering them to a different audience. I'm not here to paint with broad brushes. I'm just speaking factually. Donald Trump was elected president of the United States once and might be again, in part because of, I don't want to say uneducated, but like less educated, white people. That's the audience he is normally talking to. Less educated white people. I don't mean racist. I'm not speaking. That's just a fact. That's what all the data shows. When you were delivering these lines that he was delivering yesterday about Vice President Harris and whether she's really black or how she identifies, all these things that aren't questions to normal people, they just work with this group of people. Well, most of your rallies are these groups of people. Most of the people following you on Truth Social, this is your audience. These lines work for you. They cheer it. You know, in a different time, they would chant, lock her up, right? With a different candidate. But suddenly he put himself on a stage where the audience is no longer less educated white people. It's very educated black people. It's a totally different audience. And he started going to the Donald Trump greatest hits, and it was just not being received. And it really did like real damage, at least for a day. We might all forget about it tomorrow, right? That's the way the news cycle works.
That's
but
right.
He took a beating yesterday, and not just from one side. Like, we're at a point in an election where, depending on what channel you watch, you can see Kamala Harris take a beating one day and then Donald Trump take a beating the next. And this is just the way it's going to go through November and probably further into the future. I'd like to think we'd be better, but there's no evidence that we're going to be. But yesterday was one where people on both sides were like, "Woo, buddy, that was not good." You know, now he'll get back to talking to his base, and those same lines will work, and he can double down on them and get standing ovations, right? But it was just fascinating to watch him try to deliver these lines that he delivers successfully.
And you can hear the groans from the crowd.
Oh, it was a tough watch. It was awkward. It was just uncomfortable because he's usually able to control these things. Even when he's on a debate stage, he's usually able to control whether it's Nikki Haley or Marco Rubio or Chris Christie or who, like, But this woman who was interviewing him yesterday, he could not control her. And she was strong and firm, and she didn't get caught up in his nonsense. She just kept going right back at him. And when he would say something that was untrue, she was terrific. And when you have somebody who's not just going to let you say whatever you want to say, and an audience who isn't preconditioned to accept the nonsense that you're spewing, then it gets that uncomfortable thing that we watched yesterday. I don't know if it'll have any impact on the election. Who knows? But it made for an interesting news cycle yesterday.
It did do that.
We'll be back with GP's carryout.
They needed size. They needed shooting. What were your initial thoughts on how this class turned out for the Grizzlies?
Analytically looking at it, you had to have a big man, and they got the best big man that was left on the board. Hey, Grizzlies fans, be sure to tune in to Grizzbeat, where the panel and I break down all things Grizzlies and take a look at the rest of the NBA as well. The show is live every Wednesday, 2 p.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Scottie Pippen Jr. so clearly should have been the MVP. Led the Memphis Grizzlies to a 5-0 record going into the championship game. Led the Memphis Grizzlies to the championship game. Was first team all Summer League. What was Jalen Wilson? Second team. What are we doing here? Snubbed. Capital S-N-U-B. Snubbed.
Tune in to the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt, live every weekday at 8 a.m. on YouTube at Grind City Media and the official Grind City Media app.
Justin Timberlake.
I'm bringing sexy back.
The Forget Tomorrow World Tour. Live in Memphis. Justin Timberlake. FedEx Forum, Saturday, November 23rd. Get tickets now at livenation.com. The brand new single Selfish is available to stream and download now.
So if I get jealous, I can't help it.
For more, hit up justintimberlake.com.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies Checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy.
Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GVWR.
Welcome back, Gary Parrish Show, presented by Ortho South. We're in the Bill Ford Tough Studio. Let's wrap it up with GP's Carryout.
It's time for GP's Carryout. One final segment filled with stuff to take with you. It's not everything you need to know, but it's most of it. What did we learn today?
A whole bunch of stuff, but really enjoyed having Trent Rosecrans on from The Athletic. He covers the Reds for The Athletic, has been a staple in Cincinnati media for a couple of decades now. I met him back when I was covering John Calipari's Tigers, and he was covering Bob Huggins' Cincinnati Bearcats, and that's how we became buddies, and I followed his work for years. And wanted to talk to him because on the way home from vacation, I watched the four-part documentary that I believe it came out last Wednesday or Thursday on HBO, Charlie Hustle and the Matter of Pete Rose. 4 episodes, about 55 minutes each, sort of detailing the rise of Pete Rose, phenomenal baseball player, historically great baseball player, and then the fall. And I mentioned this, but I really can't overstate how big of a deal this guy was. Imagine Penny Hardaway being a star at Treadwell High, and then a star at the time Memphis State University, and then rather than playing with the Orlando Magic, the Grizzlies were actually here in the early 90s. And he became, a first-round pick of the Memphis Grizzlies and then led the Memphis Grizzlies to multiple championships. And then, when he retired, even before he retired, because people don't remember this, Pete Rose was a player-manager. He was a player and the manager at the same time.
Yep.
Imagine then Penny Hardaway is playing for the Grizzlies, but also coaching the Grizzlies. Like, that's who he is in that city. Like, he's a historically incredible American sports figure. Like the first professional athlete to ever be on the Wheaties box. He at one point was the MVP in the major leagues. He was the highest paid player in the major leagues. So think about how big of a deal when Jonte Porter gets caught gambling and is banned from basketball. Like I said earlier, imagine it's not Jonte Porter, but it's Steph Curry, or it's Kevin Durant, or it's LeBron James. Like, that's what Pete Rose getting busted in this way was. And one of the points of contention he makes in the film is he says, yes, I was wrong. I've said it a million times. I'll say it again if you want me to. I was wrong. But the Astros cheated to win a World Series. Shoeless Joe Jackson threw World Series games. Like, he lost on purpose. The worst thing I did was I bet on my team. I believed in my team. He says, I never bet against my team. Now, there's no way to prove that. And as somebody points out in the documentary, okay, he never bet against his team. We'll take him at his word, I guess, even though that's not the smartest thing in the world to do historically. But, like, there are times we know he didn't bet on his team. So why is he betting sometimes and then not other times? Those are the days when he doesn't believe. Like, while recognizing he's a documented liar, that makes sense to me because, like, I gamble.
Yep.
I bet on the Mets. Sometimes. Sometimes I don't. I've never bet against it.
Right.
I
don't bet against my teams either.
Right. I will not bet against my teams. I don't want to sit there and have to root against my teams.
Of course.
So I bet on the Mets or I don't bet on the Mets, but I never bet against them. That's why it's actually believable to me. A competitor to that level would want some action on the game, particularly if you're not a drug addict, but a gambling addict. But you couldn't bear to bet against your team because you're such a competitor. You couldn't stand to have any rooting interest in a loss. So I actually believe him. So see, Trent Rosecrans was in that. And one of the things when I was talking to him earlier that he said was that he doesn't believe Pete Rose will ever get into the Hall of Fame. And he might be right. But that struck me as a little bit like, you remember a month ago? I talked about this. You can go back and find it. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at one point, she was asked about President Biden not being on the ticket in November. And she was just dismissive of it. She was like, oh, that's a resolved issue. President Biden is our nominee. And I came on the next day and I was like, it's just not a resolved issue. It's not. Like, some people on the left are talking about it like there's just no way somebody other than Joe Biden's going to be on the ticket. But, like, it never seemed true to me after that debate. In fact, you could go check it. I came on and I said, even as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying it's a resolved issue, I don't think it is. And I don't think Joe Biden will be on the ticket. I don't think I'll be voting for Joe Biden or Donald Trump or RFK. I'll have a different option as the Democratic nominee, and now here we are. That felt a little like that, respectfully. Trent knows more about it than I do. I'm just not convinced Pete Rose will never, ever, ever be in the Hall of Fame. And you want to know why? Because most people think he belongs there. Even Trent said if you put him on a ballot and I had to vote, I would vote for him. I don't think he'll ever be on my ballot. I don't think he'll ever get in. But if you said, hey, it's your job to decide, it's not my job to decide. But if it were my job to decide, I would vote him in. Most people feel that way. Most people think Pete Rose belongs in the Hall of Fame with a plaque. And I do think, while recognizing he's an incredibly flawed guy, if he was your friend, you'd be like, God, he's a flawed friend. Like, there's some things you love about him, but just shut up. There's a lot of that going on. So I'm not asking you to vouch for him as a man, but to just understand what he was as a baseball player. And I do believe that it would be, I hesitate to use words like shame. It'd be a real shame or a tragedy because, a tragedy is a 3-year-old getting diagnosed with cancer. That's a tragedy. Pete Rose not being in the Hall of Fame is less than that. But I don't think it'd be great. If you watch the documentary, you'll know it matters to him. He really wants it more than anything. And he actually says, if I ever were able to stand on that stage and accept that honor, it would be the happiest I've ever been. It'd be the biggest day of my life. I just don't like the idea of keeping that from somebody. You know, if it matters that much to him, and we've already taken a lot from him, his life was baseball, you know. And his own mistakes, his choices, you know, you get what you get. But I don't know. Does anybody really feel strongly that Pete Rose should never be in the Hall of Fame? Probably the same people who think you should boycott the Olympics. Like, it's under the same, like, you don't really feel that strongly about it. If so, you're being weird. This is one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Most people think he belongs in the Hall. He clearly wants to be there. I'd like to see it happen. You know, and all it takes is really, you know, a handful of people you can count on one hand just deciding we're going to make this happen, and they could make it happen. I hope they do. I would hate to read a story one day, Pete Rose dead at the age of 84, and then 7 years later, Pete Rose finally inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's just a backwards way to do it. Put him in, and, you know, he's paid a big enough price. At least I think so.
What's today's biggest game?
Bennett, do you know what we're doing tonight?
Where are we going?
You don't know where we're going.
No.
Can I take you to Canton, Ohio?
Wait.
You don't even want to watch the Hall of Fame game.
The Hall of Fame game is tonight?
Texans and Bears.
Are you
Texans
freaking kidding
Bears. Me? I'm not kidding you. We're going to do it at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium.
Dude, this is just because...
Should be Jessica Benson Hall of Fame Stadium.
The Olympics have totally overshadowed this.
Hall of Fame game
Because
tonight.
usually we are talking about this. Like, usually this gets brought up, and I know we're bringing it up right now, but, like, I feel like the Hall of Fame game, every year when it rolls around, we talk about it a little bit, and it is just... I didn't even realize it was tonight.
I knew it was tonight.
This is easy.
Texans,
Are you kidding me? This is
Bears,
freaking easy.
Canton, Ohio. It's inside the Jessica Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. Texans are -2. The total's 30.5. Kickoff is at 7 o'clock. It's going to be on ESPN. It's going to be on ABC.
Yeah.
What will get a bigger number tonight, the Olympics or this stupid preseason football game?
I think it'll be the Olympics. Be the Olympics. Yeah.
Hey, I got good news for you.
Yeah.
Your record is now 135, 135, and 4.
Yeah.
You're 500.
Mm-hmm.
Negative 14.7 the units.
Yeah.
But let's focus on the 500. You're
Right,
500.
right.
Hey, every day since we've been doing this show, you and I sitting here, you've been making picks.
Yeah.
All right? And you get them right just as much as you get them wrong.
Once upon a time, I was doing really well, but that ended quickly. Yeah.
You know, we used to say the same thing about Tiger Woods.
Right, that's true.
You know, once upon a time, he was doing well. Now look at him.
Yeah.
Barely walk. Right? How you going to act? Texans, Bears. Houston -2.
This is simple. F the Texans.
Bennett says F the Texans.
Tighten up.
Tighten up.
And go Bears.
Go Bears.
Yeah.
Who's quarterback in the Bears now? This is our number one pick.
Yeah, he won't. I bet he doesn't even play.
You don't even want him to play.
Dude, I feel like that the Hall of Fame game, because I guess it's an extra preseason game for both of these teams. And even when we come into the Hall of Fame game, if there's a team that has like a rookie quarterback, I feel like they don't even play in maybe he'll do a series. Maybe Caleb will do a series, but I bet he doesn't even play. But I'm still going Bears.
Bears +2. Bennett said take the point. Hey, we could be sitting here tomorrow. You could be one game above 500.
I'm sure I won't be, but I ain't picking the Texans.
And not picking the Texans.
No.
If we're going to die, we're going to die with the Bears.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
What are we watching on TV?
Oh, you know what's on tonight, 7 o'clock?
The Olympics?
Yeah, but you know what else?
What?
CW. Oh, it's a busy night.
What's going on?
ABC, we got NFL.
Mm-hmm.
NBC, we got the Olympics. CW?
What are they going to do to compete?
Miss Teen USA.
Oh, wow.
Miss Teen USA.
I would have rethought that. Is it live?
It's live, baby.
I might have looked at the calendar if
It's
I was the CW.
It's the 42nd Miss Teen USA pageant. If you want to know who Drake's next girlfriend is going to be, she's going to be here probably. She's probably going to be on display. Miss South Dakota, I'd guess.
Yeah.
I had to guess.
I don't know if I would have done this tonight.
It's at the Peacock Theater out in L.A. Bet Drake will be there. You know, scoping it out.
Yep.
Doing some evaluating. You know how like college coaches go to Peach Jam to evaluate prospects?
Yes.
Drake, Teen USA. He'll be at the Peacock Theater. Boy, if there's one thing I can bet on tonight, be Drake at the Peacock Theater. Just, sitting in the back with binoculars. That creep. Master manipulator and a habitual liar too.
Yeah.
Terrible person.
That's what they say.
Team USA pageant tonight. Who do you think's going to win? You think Miss Mississippi got a chance? Miss Tennessee?
No. I'll probably go with like Miss. I think it's probably safe to go with like Miss California or something.
Miss Georgia.
Yeah, I'll go with Miss California.
Miss California's a home game for her.
Oh, it is.
Peacock Theater. Home game for her.
Yeah, I'll go with Miss California.
Miss California.
That seems like the safest bet.
I'm going to go with Miss Georgia.
Okay.
I think, after what happened in Georgia football last year.
Got it.
I'm going to go with Miss Georgia. So you got Miss California.
Yeah,
I got Miss
why
Georgia.
not?
We'll see how it goes. Team USA pageant tonight, 7 o'clock on the CW.
What's the best thing we've read?
All right. How about Bennett, it's almost football season.
Yes,
we got the
it is.
NFL tonight, and then we got the CBS Sports 1 through 134 rankings in Division I football posted today, CBSSports.com. Where do you think the Memphis Tigers are?
I'm going to say the Memphis Tigers are sitting comfortably at 32.
35.
Okay.
35.
Okay.
They've got them slightly underrated, according to you. Boise State appears to be the highest rated group of 5 team. So we need those Broncos to take a loss early. We need to get them out of our way.
We definitely do.
We need to get them out of our way. But Memphis would be the second highest rated group of 5 school, according to CBSSports.com. Boise State at 30. Then it goes West Virginia 31, Kentucky 32, Wisconsin 33, Nebraska 34, Memphis at 35, 1 spot ahead of Liberty, 2 spots ahead of Auburn, 3 spots ahead of Florida, 4 spots ahead of UCF. Don't take that for granted. Preseason football rankings are out, and what CBS Sports thinks is that the Tigers are going to be better than Auburn, Florida, and their old conference rival, UCF.
I like it.
Don't take this for granted.
I will not.
Bennett, it ain't always been this way. It won't always be this way. So you should enjoy this time.
I'm going to enjoy it.
All right, me too. Go find the rankings, CBSSports.com.
What's on tap for tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow Friday.
Yes.
Food Truck Friday?
Yes, it's back.
You get the
Tomorrow is the first one. Yes, it is back, baby.
Get right out of here.
Yeah.
You get right out of my
Friday
face of that.
starts tomorrow.
You telling me there are going to be food trucks
there
out there tomorrow?
are going to be food trucks outside of this building tomorrow.
Son of
Yep. 3, I believe.
Woo!
Yeah, we got 3 food trucks tomorrow.
I hope they have that one where they'll make a quesadilla out of anything.
I don't know. These are mysterious food trucks. I saw the list. I wasn't familiar with any of their work, so I'm excited. It's kind of a mystery. It'll be fun.
I just like quesadillas.
I know you do. I know
anything.
you do.
You can put any kind of. I'll eat any kind of quesadilla.
Can I be honest?
Please.
I just always go to the one that has the shortest line.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I figure. But I like a quesadilla, buddy.
Yep.
Man, I tell you what. I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Me too.
Food Truck Friday.
It's back.
If I were ranking weekdays, Food Truck Friday's pretty high.
It's legit. It's legit.
It ain't Moose Knuckle Monday.
Right.
But if I were ranking weekdays, Moose Knuckle Monday's number 1 and Food Truck Friday's number 2.
Let's go.
And then we can fill in the middle however you want to fill it in. We'll rank the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's up for debate. But what's not up for debate is non-negotiable. Moose Knuckle Monday is number 1 and Food Truck Friday is number 2.
All right.
I'll stand on that. I can't wait for tomorrow. Jessica Benson will join me.
Yep.
Should be a good time.
It'll be fun.
Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll enjoy mine. We're going to be back here tomorrow at 10. Till then, be careful, be kind, be good. Rep your hood.